Hello, I'm Marty Wimmer, program host on WNED Classical, and I'm here today with opera singer Mary Fetterman, who's going to tell us about an upcoming production of The Marriage of Figaro by Mozart, and we're going to get to know Mary as well. So welcome to Buffalo Toronto Public Media, Mary Fetterman.
Thank you, Marty. Thanks for having me.
So nice to have you here. First of all, let's get to the business at hand. You have a performance coming up here in Buffalo in late September. Tell us about it.
Yes, so I will be playing Susanna in The Marriage of Figaro, and it will be at Buff State University, and it will be at the Performing Arts Center September 27th at 7:30 and September 29th at 2:30. So we'll have a matinee and a night performance, only two, but it'll be full of amazing music and singing, and I'm just so excited to put it on.
It sounds like a really exciting opera. I just read recently that they interviewed and sort of did a poll of opera singers, and they said that The Marriage of Figaro is regarded by opera singers as probably the world's greatest opera. Now, greatest is sort of a random word, but
yeah.
but do you feel that it is really such a great opera yourself?
It is certainly an iconic opera when it comes to when I at least for me, when I studied opera, it was always regarded, these arias that we sing and these scenes are always used in programs and in schools and for learning purposes. It's great for young opera singers to start with some of these arias because Mozart's music and the way he composes is conducive for building great technique.
Sure.
So,
now, this is a comedy. Tell us a little about how you prepare to do a comic role.
Yes.
Tell us about that.
That's a great question. Well, so I guess it's important to acknowledge the way that Mozart composes it. So it's a comedic book by Beaumarchais that was then transcribed by Lorenzo da Ponte, who is the librettist, into this kind of play and opera format. And there's this play on class, especially at the time of the late 18th century. We have a lot of play of like, oh my goodness, this lower class person is liking this rich person. Oh my goodness, like
right.
At the time that was very funny. And I think that, but I think, even though that's a little outdated, there are some parts about this score and the libretto that are timeless. And so as someone who's preparing a comedic role of something that's hundreds of years old, I have to find those nuggets in things that I personally, as a 20-something-year-old in the 21st century, what I find funny and bring that out in my songs and in the recits that I sing with my cast members. And also it's fun, what we're doing, especially here at Buffalo Opera Unlimited, is we sometimes talk about those things like, what can we bring out? What's really funny about this? And our director, Paul, is really good at helping us do that as well. So it's really finding those things that I personally find, that really make me laugh.
Yeah, well, we're really looking forward to it. Again, you say it's taking place at Buffalo State University on September 27th and September 29th, the production by Buffalo Opera Unlimited of Mozart's La Nozze di Figaro, or The Marriage of Figaro. How'd you like it? Did I pronounce it correctly?
Yes, it was very good, very good.
Well, that's really great. Tell us a little about you before this opera. Who is Mary Fetterman? You're a soprano. And
yes.
What else can you tell us? Where are you from? How did you get where you are today?
Yeah, so I'm from a little town called Boyertown, Pennsylvania. I would say it's in between Philadelphia and Lancaster. So I always say on the edge of Pennsylvania. It was a very musical area. We have a lot of really great local opera opportunities here and there. But my family's very musical. So I think when it comes to my introduction to opera is my dad is a classical and bluegrass musician, and my mom did a lot of musical theater and also choral singing. And my grandma on my dad's side took me when I was younger to see different operas in the local area.
You told me you just graduated with a voice degree, a graduate degree, right? From
yes.
the prestigious Eastman School of Music. What was that like?
Oh my gosh, Eastman was it was amazing. I had a fabulous time at Eastman. So it was that 2-year master's program, and there I did I did a handful of operas, and I just had an amazing time and many performing opportunities there.
When we were speaking earlier, I didn't mention to you that I'm actually a retired music teacher myself, and I know that you have a teaching certification. One of the requirements in my program was we had to take part in an opera, so I have this much experience performing in an opera. I had a tiny role in an opera once, and I remember it was quite overwhelming to come in at the right time and to follow the conductor and to act and to do all the things that you have to do. How does an opera singer integrate all of those complicated things at one time? The musical considerations, the acting considerations, the logistics. It seems like an awful lot to integrate. How do you do it, and how do you do it with poise and grace and, you know, without falling apart? How do you do that?
That's a great question. I think at a lot of universities, there's something very academic that we've made those different aspects very academic in a way. So, and I'll explain in a theory class per se. At my time at Westminster, we were taught to conduct ourselves. We were taught to isolate rhythms and then integrate, solfege and then melodic lines. And these kind of slowly scaffolded steps are established sometime then in your lesson. There's those basic musicianship skills that you establish, and it takes a long time. And another thing when it comes to, so that's the comment on mending when you're learning music. Now, when you're performing music, the path is different for everyone. People take acting classes. Like I went to musical theater camp when I was in elementary school, and that was so fun, but it helped me get in my body. It taught me how to learn how to study a character and how a character just stands when they're listening to someone else.
Right.
That is all very important. And then once you learn a piece of music, like once I opened up my score for the Marriage of Figaro for the first time, I read the text. What's the translation? What is her intention? And then I use that acting that I learned, and I also use the musical foundation that I have, and I mend them almost immediately. Then back to your question about, do I ever get nervous? Absolutely. I think you need nerves to get better, in my opinion. I think that, but I also find that the more prepared I am, the less nervous I am, because I'm like, I own this. I have a performance to do. This is my job, and I feel confident enough, and those nerves kind of turn into excitement and energy on stage. So I always find that with these many years, at this point, decades worth of practicing and learning these techniques to integrating music and acting and character study and opera study and even the study of Mozart in and of itself is imperative to being as prepared as you possibly can. And then therefore, the nerves then, depending, sometimes change into something that you can use on stage, this great energy that you can send into your character.
So that's fascinating. The libretto is in Italian.
Yes.
And so obviously you have to have good Italian pronunciation. How well do you speak Italian? And if it's not a language that you speak fluently, when you're singing, are you thinking of the translation in English, or is it just, you're in Italian now? How does that work for an opera singer?
We have some cast members that are fluent in Italian. I personally have 2 semesters worth of college Italian, which is pretty solid, but it's very basic Italian. But I want to say that a part of what I was talking about with learning the score is immediately the translation goes in. I don't even learn a single note until I know what the translation is. So that with the musical intention, I already have the actual intention of the text behind it. So, but that being said, because I don't speak Italian, I am always thinking of the English translation. But to me, then at that point that things are memorized, it's kind of natural. And I'm like, oh, okay, so this word is really significant in the sentence. I'm gonna emphasize that, or really emphasize the consonants because it's an important word.
When the audience is there, will there be supertitles?
Yes.
So it'll be sung in Italian, but the audience can read the words right on a screen. Is it above the stage, I
Yes,
think?
it should be above the stage.
Right.
And they even have, I've noticed a lot, even for English operas, English is the predominant language around here, but it's still, it's still helpful, especially when you have these long lines over one word, like I'm not going to understand that one word,
Right.
So it's always helpful. But yeah, it is almost like second nature, and it's really easy to follow. Yeah.
So what's next for Mary Fetterman?
So I am doing, I guess the next thing, well, this is the big next thing, but then after that, I am a chorister in the Viva Bach Petersboro Festival in New Hampshire, which I'm so excited about. I love singing Bach. And then I have a Handel's Messiah in Atlanta, Georgia at the beginning of December. And I'm also competing. Well, I have a lot of applications sent out so far for young artist programs and things like that, so I'm not so sure about those yet. But I'll be competing in the Lafont competition in Salt Lake City in early November.
Very exciting time for you, for sure. Anything else you want to tell us about this particular production that's coming up?
I am a big fan of Buffalo Opera Unlimited, and I was in their 3 Decembers performance in June, which was so much fun. But I think with that experience and this experience, I really am realizing what talent they collect, like they find throughout upstate New York. All of my cast members are just awesome. They're awesome singers, they're awesome colleagues and amazing people. And also Buffalo Opera Unlimited, really respects their artists. And I think that is all I could ask for as a young artist, is to be celebrated and to find a way to make good music. It's just such a gift. So I'm just having so much fun, and I really hope that if people can come, that they can see that on stage. It's just going to be a lot of fun.
You are at the point now where you've just finished your master's. You self-disclosed that you're 20-something. For people a little bit younger than you, any words of wisdom for how to pursue, getting into opera themselves, for young singers who may be watching this interview today?
Yes. Obviously, follow what you love. Do not let anybody tell you that you can't do something. And if you are interested in opera, be open to so many different types of opera. That I found that one of my favorite types of opera is minimalism and, 21st century cool English opera. And it's just, there's so much amazing stuff. Support opera, go to operas, go to musicals. Live music is such a gift. And so my advice is just to soak it up as much as you can.
I've been speaking today with Mary Fetterman. She's a soprano who is playing the role of Susanna in a Buffalo Opera Unlimited production of The Marriage of Figaro by Mozart, and it takes place on September 27th and September 29th, 2024 at Buffalo State University. My name is Marty Wimmer. I'm one of the hosts here at WNED Classical. Thank you for watching this interview with Mary Fetterman, and thank you, Mary, for coming in today.
Thank you so much, Marty.